At my grandma's birthday, my 14-year-old nephew poured Coke into my lap and shouted, "You don't belong here!" My family laughed. I didn't cry or beg. That night, I pulled my name from my brother's credit line. 2 weeks later, his whole empire began to fall. My name is Rachel. For most of my life in my family, I've been the poor relative, the handy extra adult, the emergency ATM, the person you call when you need a signature, a babysitter, or someone to listen to you complain about your stress from living in a 3-bedroom condo you didn't pay for. We're in Ohio, in a mid-sized city where everyone knows everyone else's business, especially if that business includes drama. My older brother, Mike Miller, is the golden boy, or as my dad used to say, the project that never ends. My mom worships Mike's son, Tyler, 14 years old, gifted, special, almost a genius, if you believe Grandma. And she does, loudly. Me? I run a small boutique in a strip mall. I sell clothes, jewelry, a little home decor. Nothing fancy, just honest work. I had a daughter once, too. 6 months in pediatric oncology, nights on a plastic chair, hope and terror trading places every hour. Then a funeral. Then an empty bedroom. After that, I walked around in a fog. People told me God takes the best and that I should hurry up and have another baby. A handful of relatives just sat with me in silence, brought me soup, and didn't try to fix anything. I remember them. Everyone else I remember for different reasons. About 6 months after the funeral, Mike came to me with papers. "Rach, I just need you to co-sign a business credit line," he said. "The store's about to take off. Mom's worried. You know how she gets. Just help me get this going, and I'll handle the rest." I didn't read the forms. I just signed where the bank manager pointed. I wanted him out of my apartment so I could go back to my grief in peace. I didn't realize I'd just given him a loaded safety net with my name strapped to it. For more than a year, I paid on time. Or rather, Mike paid on time, with my credit holding everything up. Mom called me a good sister when it suited her. The rest of the time, at family dinners, I was the one they joked about. Rachel and her little shop. Grandma Gail's birthdays had turned into one-man shows starring Tyler. More attention on him than on her or her supermarket cakes combined. Usually, I'd show up, hand over a gift, survive the required small talk, and escape as soon as it was socially acceptable. This year, the invitation itself felt wrong. "Rachel, honey, you have to come," my mom cooed over the phone. "Tyler keeps asking if you'll be there." That alone should have made me claim the flu. Tyler only remembered I existed when he wanted something. Last time he'd been extra sweet, he spent an entire evening complimenting my cooking, then hinted loudly about how cool it would be to have a gaming chair. I bought it. 2 weeks later, a cousin's kid told me Tyler was bragging in the courtyard that I tried to be a mom and failed. His exact phrasing. When I complained to Mike, he shrugged. "Teenage phase. He's pushing boundaries." So no, I wasn't expecting warmth, but I still went, because despite everything, I kept showing up. When I arrived at Mike and Olivia's 3-bedroom condo, the place was chaos. Balloons, 2 store-bought cakes with frosting roses, half-opened presents everywhere. Tyler was holding court with some girl, bragging that Grandma was going to buy him a car when he turned 16. My mom laughed like he'd just done stand-up on national TV. No one noticed I'd come in. I had to cough loudly and wave before someone finally pointed, without enthusiasm, at an empty chair. My gift, a necklace of amber-colored beads I'd spent an hour choosing, sat in its box all night, unopened. Mom was too busy telling anyone who would listen how Tyler's homeroom teacher wanted him moved into a special gifted program. Not just smart. Practically a genius, you know? No one asked how my store was doing. No one mentioned the charity fair I'd organized at the mall 2 weeks earlier. We'd raised enough to cover a month of therapy sessions for parents at the pediatric oncology ward. But I was a blank space to them, a convenient contrast to point at, just to feel superior. They sat me between two strangers. One man had a beer can in each hand. The other dropped his fork, picked up mine without asking, and kept eating. I let it go. I'd been letting things go for years. And then Tyler stood up from the table with a full glass of Coke. He walked toward me like he was just passing by, looked me straight in the face.
"Grandma says there's no place for you here,"
he shouted. Then he poured the entire glass into my lap. Ice-cold, syrupy soda soaked my skirt. My legs went sticky in seconds. The table roared. My mom turned to her friend and said something like, "Tyler just says what he really thinks." Mike actually clapped. I dabbed at my legs with napkins while they laughed harder. I smiled. Calm. No reaction. No scene. I sat there like I didn't feel humiliated at all. After months in a hospital, holding my daughter while she faded, after watching monitors flatline and packing up tiny clothes that would never be worn again. A teenage stunt with Coke felt so stupid, so small. And that's exactly why it was the last straw. Because they knew my grief. And even knowing that, they still saw me as a target, a prop for their jokes. Something flipped inside me. Not anger, not even rage, just crystal clarity. They didn't want me there. They never had. And now, they'd spelled it out so clearly that even I couldn't pretend anymore. I waited 5 more minutes, apologized politely, said I had to leave early. No big deal. Drove home, opened my laptop, and remembered the credit line I'd co-signed for my brother. That night, I emailed the bank and revoked my guarantee, asked to have my name removed from his credit line. The system froze his accounts automatically. Mike found out the next morning when the bank called, and at 7:45 a.m., a tow truck sat under their bedroom window, hauling away the Camry he'd leased 3 months earlier, also with my name on the line. At 8 o'clock on the dot, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mike on my porch, with that familiar blend of fake concern and real panic I'd seen every time he blew up his own life. Only now, Mom wasn't next to him with a rescue check, and I wasn't in the mood to pretend everything would magically work out. He didn't even say hello. "You have to fix this. Now." No, good morning. No mention of the Coke. No hint that the whole table had laughed at me like I was some hired clown. He shoved a stack of papers at me. "They froze the line. The bank says the guarantor backed out. If I don't find someone else, everything crashes. I can't cover the lease at Westview Mall. The credit cards are maxed. I can't pay my employees. Mom's health insurance is expiring. Tyler's soccer club fee is due next week." I leaned my shoulder against the doorframe. Didn't say a word. His voice changed. Got sharper. "You're doing this over a stupid joke? Seriously, Rachel?" There it was. Not cruelty. Not humiliation. A stupid joke. I closed the door in his face. 5 minutes later, my phone lit up like a slot machine. First Mike, then his wife, Olivia, then Mom. Guilt. Confusion. Threats. They each tried their favorite angle. Tyler sent a meme video, some influencer fake crying dramatically. No text. Just the clip. By evening, there was a new surprise waiting for me in the parking lot. I stayed late at the shop doing inventory. When I finally stepped out, it was dark and quiet. Just my car under the streetlight and a couple of trash cans. Keys in one hand, grocery bag in the other. My car looked wrong. Both sides were keyed down to the metal. The side mirror lay on the pavement. The back window was a spider web of cracks, hit with something heavy. I just stood there, scanning the empty lot. No one around. Just silence and that weird feeling, like the air itself was waiting for me to explode. I didn't call Mike. I didn't call my mom. I didn't scream or cry or fall apart. I went back into the shop, pulled up the security footage, and hit rewind. There they were, Tyler and one of his buddies, hoodies up, laughing their heads off, one filming on his phone. Tyler walking up to my car, spraying "loser" in red across the side, posing like he'd just dropped a rap album. For the grand finale, he kicked a flower pot off the shop steps. I didn't even blink. I called the only sane person in our family snake pit, my Uncle Ron. He drove over like the building was on fire. We watched the video together in the back office. When it ended, he leaned back in his chair, looked at me, and said, "Call the police." No discussion. He stayed while I gave my statement. The patrol officer was polite but thorough.
"This isn't the first complaint about Tyler Miller,"
he said, flipping through his tablet. "We've had reports from school, property damage, trespassing. So far, he's dodged any real consequences. With this video, that's going to be harder." The next morning, Mike showed up again. This time, he didn't try the front door. He paced the sidewalk across the street from my house, phone to his ear, calling me over and over while wearing a trench into my block. When he finally realized I wasn't coming out, he started yelling. I couldn't catch every word through the window, but a few floated up clearly. "Traitor. Heartless. You'll regret this." Later, Mom left a voicemail. Her voice was tight and tearful, like she was auditioning for a daytime drama. "I don't know what's gotten into you, Rachel. Making this kind of fuss over money? You're really going to destroy our family over a childish prank?" They still didn't get it. None of them did. It wasn't about the coke, or the broken glass, or even the money. It was about years of being treated like the poor relation they tolerated, not loved, used, not valued, slowly squeezed out until I was just the extra chair in the corner. They thought, if she isn't exploding, she isn't noticing. They thought I'd bend. Instead, I watched their perfect little world start to crack, and I was just getting started. A few days later, formal charges came through: vandalism, criminal mischief, trespassing. Because Tyler was still under 16, a juvenile officer got involved. Mike and Olivia were called into the station. With the video, there wasn't much to deny. Everything was there. The smirks, the spray paint, the posing for the camera. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like I'd won. I opened my store like it was any other day, swept concrete dust off the steps, and went back to work. The phone started buzzing. Customers told me Mike was making the rounds, saying I'd faked the footage, edited everything to frame his sweet boy. My mom visited one of my suppliers to warn them that my nerves were acting up again, like after the tragedy with my daughter. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I sat down and made a list of every thread tying us together. Every stupid favor and signature I'd thrown around like confetti. It was longer than I'd expected. After the credit line for his main store, there was the sublease for Olivia's kiosk at Riverfront Plaza downtown. I was the guarantor there too. Then the merchant accounts for her online store on Amazon. The POS system, the payment processing, little side deals I'd barely noticed at the time. All under my name. My mistake. I'd given too much, trusted too easily. Now I was taking it back. By the end of the week, I'd severed every financial tie, canceled merchant accounts, revoked power of attorney, sent letters to the IRS and state tax office asking that my information be removed from any business registrations tied to their LLCS. They couldn't accept a single payment without going through reviews they weren't prepared for. Methodical, cold, efficient. Olivia's Amazon storefront was suspended within 48 hours. The mall terminated Mike's sublease. A bright notice went up on the kiosk. Closed. Lease terminated. Mike called nonstop. Left voice notes that slid from begging to threats with whiplash speed. By the end, he was almost crying. Mom called too. Very different tone. You're tearing this family apart. Your father would never have wanted this. Funny, Dad was the only one who ever treated me like a person instead of a backup plan, and that's when it hit me. They thought everything they'd built was theirs, that I was lucky just to be nearby. The truth was, it had all been resting on me, my effort, my signature, my reputation, my risk. They never valued it because acknowledging it would mean admitting I had power, and they hated the idea that I held something they couldn't control, so they snapped. One night I came home late. The shop window was shattered again. This time they didn't even try to hide. On the floor lay a brick with a note rubber banded around it. One line scribbled in all caps, "You'll die alone." I didn't get scared. I didn't even get mad. I picked up the brick, pinned the note to the back room bulletin board, and called Uncle Ron again. By morning, he was back with a lawyer. "Criminal charges are good," the lawyer said. "But we're also filing a civil suit. Emotional distress, lost income, property damage, everything we can document. And we can document a lot." I didn't argue, didn't hesitate. This wasn't about a birthday party or Coke or broken glass anymore. It was about drawing a line, thick and permanent. They weren't family anymore, just people who happened to share my last name. The juvenile hearing for Tyler got scheduled first, then dates for the bigger case against Mike and Olivia for damages, fraud, and everything else their mess had spilled over into. I thought they'd panic quietly and finally shut up. Wrong. Late one night, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. I almost deleted it. Spam, probably, but something made me listen. A young, shaky voice said, "Hi, my name is Hannah. I worked for your brother at the mall kiosk, the one that closed. At first I didn't understand what was going on, but when I heard about the court case, some things clicked." She'd overheard Mike and Olivia talking a few weeks earlier. They were planning how to make me look crazy so no one would take me seriously. They talked about breaking another window to push me over the edge. "I didn't get it then," she said. "Now I do. I still have our messages. He asked me to buy spray paint and send him receipts. I'm tired of staying quiet." I called her back immediately. Her voice shook, but she didn't back down. I gave her my lawyer's contact info. She sent screenshots of everything. That same night, another woman messaged me. She'd helped Olivia with the online store. She'd seen fake invoices made out in my name, used to get better payment terms from suppliers, like I was a co-owner when I wasn't. They'd even processed a fake return once, claiming a shipment was defective, to get a refund using my good standing. I forwarded it all to Uncle Ron by morning. What had started as just vandalism turned into a full-blown case. Fraud, forgery, illegal use of personal data. The lawyer updated our claims in a few hours. They were not ready. I thought, okay, now they'll realize they've pushed too far. They'll crawl back, apologize, and vanish from my life. Sure. Instead, late that evening, I heard noise downstairs and checked the building camera from an app on my phone. Mike, Olivia, and my mom were standing in front of my shop window, just staring in, like they were waiting to be let in. Then Mike pulled out his phone and started a Facebook Live. I watched in real time from the apartment above the shop. He called me a parasite, said I was milking my daughter's death, that I loved playing the victim to squeeze money out of the family. According to him, 6 months in pediatric oncology, sleepless nights in a plastic chair, and an empty nursery were just part of my master plan to guilt them into helping me. He said I was trying to destroy the family, that I needed psychiatric help. My mom stood behind him, arms crossed, face like stone. Not a word, not a single, "Hey, maybe don't do this." They had no idea I was watching. I didn't run downstairs. I didn't pound on the glass and scream. I called 911, sent the link to my lawyer. The stream disappeared an hour later, but someone had already screen recorded it and posted the video in a local community group called Family Drama in Riverside. Title: Business War in Real Time. The next day, people started coming into the store. Strangers, regular customers, curious neighbors.
"Are you okay?"
Some asked. Others just bought something small and said, "Hang in there." I worked, smiled, wrapped purchases, all while my personal life burned in the background like a building I'd already decided not to re-enter. 2 days later, Mike and Olivia served me with a thick envelope. They were suing me. Fraud, slander, damages, the full dramatic package. Their lawyer said they were open to a friendly settlement if I agreed to keep everything private and avoid a public trial. I didn't answer. My lawyer did. They still didn't understand. This wasn't revenge. It was survival. And I wasn't the one who lit the match. The court date was set for Thursday at 9 a.m. I barely slept the night before. Not from nerves exactly, more from the sharp, wired desire to finally lay all the facts on the table, cut the last cords, and walk away. I got there early. Uncle Ron was already standing outside the Franklin County Courthouse, sipping coffee from a paper cup like we were there to contest a parking ticket.
"Focus,"
was all he said as he handed me a copy of what our lawyer had filed the night before, the final version of the lawsuit with all attachments. 7 thick binders of evidence. Mike shuffled into the courtroom later, rumpled tie, bloodshot eyes, moving like gravity had tripled overnight. Olivia trailed behind him, mumbling to herself, glued to her phone like she could scroll her way out of reality. They sat 2 rows ahead of us, never looked back. My mom didn't show. Later, I saw photos someone posted online. That same morning, she was at a cafe patio, cackling with her friends over cappuccinos. Too sick and anxious for court, apparently. The judge, a woman around 50 with a stripe of gray in her hair, ran the hearings like a metronome, steady, precise, no extra drama. Our lawyer laid everything out, piece by piece. The security video of Tyler vandalizing my car, the Facebook Live recording, the fake invoices with my forged signature that Olivia had used with suppliers. Then came the witnesses, 3 former employees, 2 suppliers, and Hannah with her screenshots of Mike planning the second broken window. With each new document, Mike sank deeper into his seat. Olivia's hands shook as she flipped through her own copies, then gave up and just stared at the table. Our lawyer didn't just ask for reimbursement. He asked for emotional damages, lost profits, legal costs, the whole thing. Their lawyer tried to spin it as a family disagreement that got out of hand, said it should be resolved quietly without ruining people's lives financially. The judge wasn't buying it. She flipped through the transcript of the live stream, paused on certain lines, and looked over the screenshots. Then she said something I will never forget. "If this is how your family resolves personal issues, I'm glad it became public record. We won. On every count." The court ordered Mike and Olivia to pay me a sum that made Olivia gasp out loud. Tyler was sentenced to community service, mandatory sessions with the school counselor, and written apologies, including one addressed to me. The apology hit my email a week later. The grammar was too perfect. I'm pretty sure my mom wrote it. I didn't respond. But what happened after court might have been even uglier than the trial itself. When I got home that day, the flower bed by my building entrance was destroyed. My mailbox was crushed. Someone had dumped food waste across my doormat. I sighed, swept everything up, installed another security camera by the entrance with a motion sensor, and filed another report. This time, the police didn't shrug.
"We've got a pattern now,"
the officer said.
"We'll add it to the case file."
A few days later, I heard from a cousin who'd stayed neutral through all of it. He'd been at a distant relative's barbecue when my name came up. Mom told everyone I'd become a cold, bitter woman exploiting my tragedy for attention. Mike bragged that he wasn't done yet. I didn't answer the message. I just took a screenshot and saved it. And then something clicked in my head, and for the first time in years, I felt calm. They were falling apart. The stronger I got, the faster they crumbled. Meanwhile, my shop was doing better than ever. I launched a line of products from local makers, handmade jewelry, ceramics, natural skincare. Negotiated a deal with a regional organic supplier. Sales doubled in a month. I hired 2 more employees and rented a small storage unit for extra stock. I was exhausted, but it was the good kind, the kind that feels earned. I also made sure the right people knew about it. Not everyone, just the ones who'd called on birthdays without being prompted, who'd shown up at my daughter's funeral without having to be begged, the ones who'd simply sat next to me in the hospital waiting room and didn't say garbage like, "Everything happens for a reason," or "God only takes the best." I told them casually about the expansion, about a piece on my store in a local business magazine, about being shortlisted for an Entrepreneur of the Year award from the Chamber of Commerce. I knew the news would travel, and I knew it would eat at the people who'd spent years telling me I'd never survive without their approval, without their support, without the sacred Miller name. Now they were the ones outside the circle. And the scariest part for them? I was fine. Months passed. The cameras did their job. The locks held. That stretching wire of constant tension finally snapped, and for the first time in a long time, my head felt quiet. I didn't hear from Mike after court. Olivia scrubbed me from all her social media. Tyler vanished from the internet. Either he went private or he deleted everything. I heard about them the same way everyone else did, through other people. Mike tried to open another store. No one would co-sign for anything. His reputation wasn't loudly destroyed, but it was thoroughly soaked. Suppliers demanded payment up front. Landlords wanted triple deposits. They were stuck. The damage they'd tried to dump on me had circled back to them, to their names, their finances, their shiny image. And the best part? I hadn't rolled in the mud with them. Every step I took was within the law. Every form, every cancellation, every report. They flung filth. I handed everything to the judge. I thought that was my final act. I was wrong. There was one more scene left. It was a Sunday. The shop was closed. We'd just finished hosting a small women's entrepreneurship fair. Lots of laughter, good food, new contacts. My staff and I were cleaning up, sweeping confetti and crumbs from the floor. One of the girls paused by the window. "Miss Miller?" she said. "There was this woman outside a few minutes ago. She just stood there, looking in for a long time. I checked the camera. Thought you'd want to see." We rewound the footage together in the back. It was my mom. She stood on the sidewalk for at least 5 minutes, maybe more. She didn't knock, didn't try the door, just stared through the glass with the look of someone who expected to find a burned-out ruin and instead saw a garden in full bloom. She'd probably imagined boarded-up windows, going out of business signs, or me inside, broken, cornered, begging the universe for forgiveness. Instead, the camera showed people laughing as they finished cleaning after a big event. Shelves stocked with new collections. My employees joking with each other as they stacked boxes. The smooth rhythm of something that worked. A successful business that didn't have their fingerprints on it. She turned away eventually. Walked off. I didn't run after her. Didn't grab my phone with a sudden urge to call. I went back to wiping down glass shelves and double-checking the day's numbers. By then, her appearance meant about as much as the shadow of a random passerby at dusk. Here's the strange part. I don't hate them, this family that shares my last name. I don't miss the Sunday lunches where every spoonful of soup came seasoned with judgment, or the holidays where I brought a carefully wrapped gift and went home with leftovers of contempt. I live quietly now. Work hard, sleep at night. They said there was no place for me at that table. Fine. I built my own, and I decide who gets a seat. So tell me, was I too harsh? Or did I finally draw the line where it should have been all along? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. So what do you think? Did she go too far or not far enough? Let her know in the comments, and subscribe for more.